¿Qué tal? Buenas noches. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Hoy vamos a tener un programa de lujo, la verdad. Estamos bien emocionados de este lado. Espero que se la pasen también, que les guste. Esto es Comics S.A. Está
David Luna.
y yo soy Carlos Tron. Hoy tenemos de invitado a una leyenda viviente. De veras, no tiene ni idea la cantidad de cosas que hace este hombre.
Oh, sí.
El talento, la versatilidad, la amplitud de temas, de estilos, de aspectos dentro de la industria en que ha trabajado. Es algo fuera de serie. Hoy vamos a platicar con Jimmy Palmiotti. A los que no son tan fans, quizá lo que más les suene es que Jimmy Palmiotti junto con su amigo Joe Quesada, que habían hecho su propia editorial, Event Comics, fueron los encargados de revitalizar una esquina del universo Marvel que estaba muy lenta en ese momento. Estamos hablando de 98.
Ajá.
Que era Daredevil, Punisher, Ghost Rider y
Black Panther.
Y Black Panther, que eran títulos que no vendían. Entonces como que se los subarrendaron, digamos, y sacaron el imprint Marvel Knights, en donde Quesada dibujaba, Palmiotti entintaba y Kevin Smith, el director de cine, el que escribía. Y revitalizaron, pegó tanto que al final, pues nada más Quesada se quedó de editor en jefe de Marvel, ¿no? O sea, el estilo Marvel Knights fue el hitazo que más grande de lo que se esperaban, y pues acabaron básicamente quedándose con Marvel, ¿no?
Básicamente. Y de hecho fue tan importante Marvel Knights que Marvel Knights está de regreso.
Sí, exactamente. Ahorita vuelve
Ahorita
a
vamos a esa parte, pero es importante saber que están de regreso.
Sí, y Marvel Knights es bien responsable
Sí.
de Netflix, de las series de Marvel en Netflix, empezando con Daredevil,
Sí.
Punisher, Jessica Jones, todo esto viene de este estilo noir, de este estilo duro, tosco que hicieron Quesada y Palmiotti, ¿no? Y nada más como introducción, es muy curioso porque yo sigo a Palmiotti en Twitter, en X, que publica muy seguido, publica cosas de su trabajo, publica de sus amigos, comenta un poco de todo, ¿no? Y seguido le pongo algún comentario. De repente contesta los comentarios que yo le pongo. Y un día estoy trabajando, pongo algún comentario de algo que puso y me contesta inmediatamente.
Y tú,
Entonces en ese momento aproveché y le mandé mensaje. Le dije, oye, Jimmy, fíjate que yo tengo un programa, soy dibujante, esto, el otro. Me encantaría tenerte invitado. Sí, cuando quieras, ¿cómo de que no? Y pues ya estamos aquí, ¿no? Entonces, sin más choro, vamos a darle la bienvenida a Jimmy Palmiotti. Hey Jimmy, how are you?
Hola. How are you?
Oh, very excited to have you here. Thank you so much. You have no idea how huge fans of your work we are here.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You live long enough, and a lot of things happen.
Okay. So I was telling the people, our audience, because we have a lot of interaction with our audience and via the YouTube chat, and about a very brief overview of your career, mainly stressing on the Marvel Knights part, which is what most of the people that are not real diehard comic fans will know. But tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you start here? I mean, I know I've read your biography, but I don't want to tell it. Tell us.
No, it's okay. I have three brothers, and we grew up in Brooklyn, New York. This was a long time ago, before TV had so many channels and video was a thing. We used to sit around and read comic books all the time, and so we all of us grew up reading comics, and I fell in love with the artwork as well. So I used to copy the artwork. I wanted to be Jack Kirby. I wanted to be Jim Strenko, and Bernie Wrightson, and all these guys. And I wound up going to the High School of Art and Design in New York City, where I took a comic book art and illustration. And then after that, I went to college for advertising. And I worked in the advertising world till I was like 30. So I did advertise. Much better living, pays better than comics. But,
I know.
But I wasn't happy. I wanted to do comic books very bad. And I had the opportunity in around 91. A friend of mine who I went to high school with, Mark Texera, who's an amazing artist, he needed help on some of his books. And so I would go up to Marvel Comics after my regular job. I'd go up there at after 5 o'clock and sit in the middle of the bullpen at Marvel Comics with John Romita Sr. there and all these very famous people around. and I started picking up work. I started picking up inking work, and that went on for a couple of years. I started inking Punisher and Ghost Rider, a whole bunch of different titles. And eventually I met Joe Quesada out in San Diego Comic Con. Had a mutual friend. And we started putting out our own comics like Ash and Painkiller Jane with Event Comics. And we were very successful with it. Wizard Magazine would feature us all the time, which was like having a billboard on a highway. People would see that magazine like crazy. And at the time, Marvel Comics was in Chapter 11. They were not doing very well. The books weren't selling. They were going bankrupt. And, desperate times makes people do desperate things. And one of them was hiring Joe Quesada and I to come in, and we picked out 4 titles we wanted to work on. We picked out Daredevil because we love Daredevil. I picked out Punisher because I love the Punisher. And then we went for 2 Jack Kirby stables. So one of them was Black Panther, right? Kirby and Lee created Black Panther. The other one was Inhumans. So those were the 4 books we launched Marvel Knights. We had I of course hired my high school buddy Mark Texera to draw Black Panther as I wanted to return the favor. And we were working with a guy named Kevin Smith who was making these movies in New Jersey, and he owed us favors. So we got him on Punisher. I'm sorry, we got him on Daredevil. And we launched Marvel Knights, and it was very, very, very successful. The company, and we stayed there. I stayed there for over 2 years until they got out of Chapter 11. Marvel came; they started doing better. They got out of Chapter 11, and then they sold to Disney, and that's when I left. And I decided less on the art side. I wanted to write more books, so it started my writing career about, besides my own creator stuff. I started writing Deadpool for Marvel, and then I wrote a long run of Jonah Hex, over 120 issues of Jonah Hex.
Wow.
And then I worked with Justin Gray, and then I worked with my wife, Amanda Cano, on Power Girl. Eventually, we stumbled onto Harley Quinn and did very well with Harley Quinn. We worked over 100 issues of Harley Quinn, and I'm still, and so now I'm writing full time. I mean, I have a bunch of books out right now. It's a very busy month for me. But that's basically my career. I don't know, I'm sure there's a lot more other stuff in there. There's some movies and TV shows too, but that's part of it's part of comics.
Okay, yeah, because believe me, I'm amazed. I mean, you've done everything. You've penciled, you've inked, you write, you've been involved in movies, in video games, in advertising. I mean, there's basically almost no corner of this industry that you haven't been in, and successfully, which is also something.
Yeah,
that's
I mean, they're all tied together, right? Like they're all kind of tied together because all of it is about telling stories. Like everything from the video games to the movies, to the TV shows, it's all about just telling stories and entertaining people. And so it's always come, that's always come pretty easy to me. I mean, I didn't start out as a writer. I think I got the confidence when I started editing other people and seeing like I'd be like, oh, I can do this better than that guy. What this is terrible, And it gave me the confidence to try it. And like one of the first things I wrote was Deadpool at Marvel, and the 10-issue run I did was I got a lot of work after that. And I like I said, I think it's just I love these characters and I love telling stories. So it's one of those jobs that's just, you guys always know what did well, but I look at my career and I see how many things failed. I see so many failures, but that is how you have successes, right? You learn from the failures and you pick yourself up and you try something new, and that's probably the one theme in my career is I've always been moving on and trying new things, and that's what keeps it interesting to me. I think if you get saddled down with the same thing over and over, you get tired of it. And we see creators that get very tired as they get older. You look at their stuff and you're like, yeah, they're not the same as when I liked them early on. But to me, everything's a new challenge. So I'm just as energetic as I was when I was 30 years ago.
Really?
less hair, you know, you guys know that. Less
We know
hair.
we know about that.
Yeah, but
Is there
yeah,
anything
I love the characters, you know.
is there anything else new for you that you want to do?
You know, I was when I was working on the TV show, I was supposed to direct one of the episodes of Painkiller Jane, and it all fell apart. I would still love to do that, just to say check it off the list. That not that I want to be a big time movie director. I'd like to just try it.
Uh-huh.
But you know, I think a lot of what I want to do is I just want to try writing different genres, and I feel like I've done all the Marvel and DC characters, like all of them. Um, but there's still things out there I want to try. I want to create a lot of my own characters. You know, I think the legacy of your work sometimes is creating. I'd love to have my Hellboy or my Sin City. I think Painkiller Jane is probably close to that for me. But I probably want to do more Jane books in the future. And I think it's 30th anniversary of Painkiller Jane, so that's like a lot. That's like a lot of years, you know.
Hmm.
But
Okay, I have like a ton
it,
of questions, and
sure,
I wanted to go structured and to go in an order, but I guess I'm just gonna
okay,
go with top of my head. I read this Batman story that you wrote for Black and White,
yeah,
the Hope story. Believe me, I'm 60 years old. I've been reading comics for over 50 years, and that's
yeah,
basically what I do. I work in comics. I teach comics. I read comics. I collect comics. I used to sell comics, and now I
right,
write and draw comics. So if there's one thing I sort of know about, at least I've done a lot about, is reading comics. And that Batman story is easily one of the top 10 stories I've ever read on Batman. I
well,
love
thank you.
the way you integrated Bruce Wayne as a tool of Batman and as a part of the essence of Batman that we rarely see used that way. And the fact that it's about hope, that's beautiful. That's a great story. And
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you on that story in particular. I will show you some pages. Uh, who decided how the pages were going to be laid out? I mean, because there's this whole thing that we have the same background broken up in different panels, and the way
Right.
the whole story is told graphically, which is beautiful storytelling. Do you put that in the script, or was that in the artist's hands this time?
So a lot of times, you know, we're only as good as the artists we get,
Hmm.
right? No matter how great the story is, sometimes the artist just doesn't capture what we're doing. I got lucky on that story. I had Andrew Robinson doing it, and I since I when I'm writing, I kind of see it, right? I see the story, but also I've been drawing so long, I see how I want the page laid out. So I explain
Okay.
to him how I want things broken down because I know we're gonna read it like this, you know, and I think it's an artist like Andrew. I give him freedom to go. Okay, you know what I want now. Do what you think is best. So this was, I think, this one was one of the proper collaborations.
Hmm.
What I did, and made it even better. And you know, I did. I will say something like, "Give me the 9 panel grid like Watchmen." You
Uh-huh.
know, give me the 9 grid where they're all the same size, so we can just follow, follow, follow. Um, you know, it's funny because if I deal with an artist that became popular in the 90s, they tend to slant the panels for
Uh-huh.
the action. I am not a fan of that, you know.
Okay.
So I always say I want it linear. I want to be able to read it in like just like this layout with the 9 panels.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I just happen to be working with a great artist. I like Andrew and my wife Amanda and like Darwin Cook. Like these are people that we talk about what I want, how I see it, and then they take it and make it better. So,
Okay.
you know, the secret to any success is to work with really talented people.
And also something you mentioned, and believe me, this is something that we can see in your work. Never lose the passion of what you're doing. I mean, we
Right.
can see that you love this medium, that you love trying. I mean, the
I
scope.
do. You know, I want to get better at what I do, you know, so I'm like constantly trying to get better. And, you know, part of that is finding the right collaboration. I mean, sometimes I work with a new editor. I'm working on a bunch of new editors right now, and I have to kind of, I not only write it, but when I get the art back, I do the balloon placement sometimes, and then even after that, I'm looking at the coloring and I'm going, that's supposed to be sunset there.
Uh-huh.
We need to change the color. So I find myself working like it's not just like write a script and hand it in anymore. I'm actually looking at every step
Okay.
because I'm worrying about everything. And my wife will tell you, when they tell me it's at the printer, I'm like, that's the only time I have to relax. I have to go, okay, I can't do anything anymore.
Uh-huh.
I'm done.
Okay.
And I think it's the control freak thing because some writers are not artists, right? They just they can just write. I see it, so when I don't see it exactly the way I write it, I kind of have to go in and mess with it. I never had to bother with certain artists. Like I said, Amanda, Darwin Cook, Jordy Bernay. Jordy, I never had to worry about. Jordy always went in and made it. He made it more fun, like Jordy added this joy to the page. I even did a book with Neil Adams, and like I would never tell Neil Adams how to lay out the page.
No.
I was just like, you're Neil Adams, you do whatever you want. But if I'm working with somebody new, I'll do a little drawing and I'll say, look, give me like this, break down this, or I'll put a ton of reference in the script with some links to here's the tank I want, here's the building I want. I did a book recently where I designed the bad guy's hideout, and I just said I kept saying I want a mid-century modern glass and brick building, and I realized let me just draw it for the guy so I can show it to him. And so again, that's just the control freak, but I think in the end I still worry about every single book, probably more than ever right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your scripts are very detailed, all the time, all the way, right?
No, not all. So if I'm working with somebody I worked with before, we have like a shorthand. I say, you know what I mean. I need a beach scene, and give me like put the camera low so we're looking up the beach a little bit. If it's somebody I never worked with, I will over describe a little bit. I'm not going to go like Alan Moore where it's like a whole page.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll give a photo reference. I'll say, look, this is like this is the kind of warehouse space I need. Give me something like this, but do your own thing. I worry about that. And then the last thing I worry about is the dialogue, right? Does the dialogue sound right? Does everybody sound different from each other? Can we see the tone of the person? When we read it, do we understand sarcastic, or they're being, a little tough guy, or they're just, or they're laughing and they think it's funny? It's like unlike film, we don't have the cues, the music cues, and the editing and everything. So we have one shot of getting it across. So when we have a panel with dialogue, if it doesn't read right, you lose that page. So I do worry about the tone and everything, and I learned a little bit of that from screenwriter Shane Black, if you know his work.
Yep.
I would read his stuff and I would see like, okay, the sarcasm is their way of bonding, right? These two characters pick on each other, but they really like each other. So how do we get that across in the script without making it seem like they're mad? Like things like that come into play. You guys know when it works, and when it doesn't, it's bad.
Did you ever take any formal education to be a writer? Because I mean, you already told us about the artistic part, the graphic part, because both parts are artistic. But did you study anything for writing?
I did not. I was a big reader, but no. The only time I took a writing class was maybe in the mid-2000s, because I was hired to write a screenplay for an animated movie. It was Dead Space Downfall. It was an animated movie, and I never wrote a screenplay. So took night classes at a college and learned how to do screenwriting. It's not that I didn't know how to do it. I needed to learn the formatting correctly, right? But I never had formal training, and if my wife will back you up on that. Like, yes, I write and she reads. She's like, your grammar's all over the place. And I said, yeah, because when I write, I do like Stephen King. I put it all down. I don't worry about how it reads. Get the idea out of the head, and then go back later and clean it up. Don't worry about the grammar. Don't worry. Get the idea down while it's hot in your head. didn't take any training. I'm not a very literary person. I'm not, like Neil Gaiman or Chris Claremont, where they speak very eloquently. I am so Brooklyn, it's not funny. And, you know, I'm a lot more eloquent on the page than I am in real life.
Okay. Because believe me, both in the classes I teach and me, I'm trying to get better and to learn more. I've been reading a lot about screenwriting, and I'm amazed at how good. Forget about the format and the grammar. How good your stories are structured. The pacing, the exposition, the subtext, the character arcs, how you slowly manage them. I was reading
Yeah.
21 Down, and
Well, we all grew up reading comics. We grew up reading books, watching movies, watching TV. We know a half-hour TV show, it's going to end in a couple of minutes, so you got to bring that story to an end. Like, so we learn these things. These are like I call them natural flexes. We kind of know when the end is coming, or we know when we see a movie and we're like, oh, here comes the credits, this is the end. Or you watch something like Shawshank and it has like 4 different endings, right? It just keeps ending, and it's wonderful though. Each one is better than the next. But I think it's a lot of stuff you pick up after a while when you're reading and writing, and you start to learn the pacing of things. And I'm extremely aware that when I'm getting near to page 20 to my story, at the end of the book, I'll lay it out in my. It's funny because people say, "When do you write?" I said, "I write all day long, and then I sit down and I type for a couple hours, like I dictate what's in my head." I also make a ton of notes. Like I just write over everything. Okay. I have a stack. It's frightening. I have a stack of notes that are in front of me that I'm constantly writing characters' names, and I'm drawing too at the same time. But I'm writing characters' names and all these shortcuts for me, and where this character lives, and this guy's name, and he works for the FBI agent Fabian Schmidt. I kind of make a lot of notes for myself, and my desk looks like a bomb hit it, right? but it's because I'm writing 1 or 2 things at the same time. There's no shame in notes. There's no shame in Post-its. Research is the most fun part of writing, For me, travel is my best part of writing because I get to go to new places and meet new people. And, everywhere you visit in this world, there's 1,000 new stories. I always tell people, get out of your house and travel, because everywhere you go, you meet and talk to people. There's 1,000 stories waiting to be discovered. And I feel like that's helped my.
Okay. Ya no soy yo, Fer. Okay. ¿Sí?
Are you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we usually have some audio problems, but everything's okay. Okay, and let's switch a little bit on the graphic side. I know you've worked with most everyone. I mean, I saw some John Buscema. Am I right that you inked some?
Yeah. I did. It was under Al Williamson's name, but I got to. They had an issue of Fantastic Four 2099 number 2. I think it was either 2 or 3. I don't remember. But it was John did breakdowns. He was kind of like sick. He was a little older, and he was not. This was right before he passed away. And I did finishes on it, and it came out, and then it said Al Williamson's name. So but yeah, I got to work with John though. Even though nobody knows it.
You guys were like the 3rd generation of wave of creators, but you got to meet everyone, right? I mean, everyone who's anyone in the history of.
I did. I got very lucky. I was a comic book fan, right? So I would go to the conventions as a kid, and I would meet Jack Kirby and Stan Lee and all these guys. I'd meet all my heroes, Dave Cockrum, and I just get Mike Kaluta, Barry Smith, Bernie Wrightson. And then later on in life, I started working with some of them. I think being polite and respectful got me a long way, because I treated them like they should be treated. Like, to me, they were like the kings. yeah, and then I got to become friends with a lot of them. Joe Jusko and Bernie Wrightson was a close friend, and
Wow.
Darwin Cook and all these people. It just I'm a very social person. I think comic people are very social. They don't always get out enough, but I think they're very social. Um, and I was not the guy at the con that would go back to the room with everybody, and I would stay out all night, and bond with them. And I think a lot of my work I got because I got to know people and like Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon. I mean, we would hang out till 4 in the morning. I would go to London and we'd go out and hang out and have drinks and we would close bars together. And we just made friends. And the thing about this business is you want to work with your friends. So that's always been my way.
Okay.
When you became a professional, who was the artist or the writer that you most wanted to know?
Frank Frazetta was
Okay.
was the artist, and when I first started inking, we went up. Me and a couple of friends went up to the Frazetta Museum in Pennsylvania, and Frank lived like a mile away. And while I was there, his wife was running the museum, Ellie, and she said, she talked to us, and we were making a laugh, and she said, "You want to come, Frank?"
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, I do." And we went to the house, and Frank was there, and we hung out all day, and he was showing me how to ink hair, and he was showing me some paintings he did, and yeah, it was just like he's always been one of my heroes, and getting to meet him was not disappointing. And then like a year later, he had a gallery show in New York, and he invited me.
Okay.
Wow.
But he told me I have to wear a tuxedo.
Uh-huh.
So I rented a tuxedo and I went and I saw him at that, and yeah, there were guys, the guys that in the we used to refer to them as the studio. So it was Bernie Wrightson, Mike Kaluta, Barry Smith, and Jeff Jones. And I wanted to meet all them. So I met Barry Smith at one of the shows. And we became friends, and I met Bernie, and we became very good friends. And yeah, I mean, when I started, everybody was like a superhero to me. Like John Buscema, when I met him, I was like, oh my God, I just, yeah, even Stan, like I met Stan when I first started up at Marvel. I was inking the Punisher 2099, I think, and another book. I was inking 2 books a month there. And he came up to me in the office, Stan Lee.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, "Hey, Jimmy Palmiotti, it's nice to meet you." He came up right up to me, shook my hand and everything. And to me, that's like meeting like your biggest hero, like, Stan Lee. I mean, and he talked about my work and everything. And then I got to know him over the years, and I went to we sat next to each other at the X-Men premiere for the first movie, and then I hosted his panel, so we became friends over time. I think it's correctly to be polite and to be nice to everybody and not to talk bad about anybody, and I think that's really taken my career to a very good place because I promote and help everybody. No negative. I don't do negative stuff, and I think when people do that, other people, it turns them off. They don't want to get in, have them around. And I've always been promoting my friends' work. And I think that's a good place to be for your career.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I was for a time I was a retailer, and I used to go to San Diego as a retailer, both as a fan and as a aspiring pro and as a retailer. And as a retailer, I had the opportunity to go to dinner with Paul Levitz, and he was telling me, if you want to have a job in comics, pick 2 out of these 3 qualities, and you'll always have a job. Which was be fast, be good, and be nice.
Yeah, I have all 3 of those.
Exactly.
And, yeah, I was fast, able to ink 3 books a month. I would ink like a book at Dark Horse, a book at DC, and a book at Marvel in the same month, and I would never let the other companies know I was working for them. They'd have to discover it because I learned from advertising, because I came from advertising before. Every client has to think you're their main person, right? So I never talked about my other work with Marvel. I never talked about my other work with DC. I never talked about my other work with IDW or Dark Horse, but I worked for all of them.
Okay.
And I made a ton of connections, but everybody got their work on time, so they had no issue with me working other places. When they would find out, they're like, "Oh my God, how'd you find time to do that?" And I'd be like, "Well, the artist asked for me. But that got me a long way. And Paul's right about those three things. I mean, an editor's job, all they want to do is get the book out.
Exactly.
Right? The editor, that's their job. So if they hire me and they tell me they need the book next Thursday, I would bring the book in on Tuesday.
Okay.
All done. And I'd say, "So is there anything else you have for me?" And they'd be like, "Well, actually, yeah. Can you do this?" So I learned that where I would watch the guys around me, they would hand in books late. They would just forget to bring the pages in or whatever. And I realized that maybe I wasn't the best inker, but I was better. But I got my work in, and that made the editors happy. And then I started having artists asking for me to work over them, and that made the editors happy too. They would say, "Hey, I want to do this book. Can you get Palmiotti to do it?" And they're like, "Yes, I can. Let me call him right now." So by making their jobs easier, I was very, I started picking up a ton of work, and I never had a lack of work after.
Oh, that's very good. That's great. And just off the top of my head, we had some.
Yes, I have some. What do you like more? Write, ink, draw, edit?
Yes. No,
What do you prefer of those?
Right now, I prefer writing.
Okay.
I think the editing part is, I can do it, but I don't do it too much. I want my editors to be the editor. I do love drawing, but I don't love drawing for work. I just like drawing for myself as a relaxing thing. But I think writing and creating, I think, is my number one job that I enjoy.
I think that you are your own editor, as what you are telling us.
Yes.
That you are editing yourself all the time.
I story edit. I'm not like the guy that's picking apart my spelling or writing or something. I'm looking at is everything working on the page. Joe Kubert used to say you should be able to read the page without the word below. And so I'm looking at the pacing of a story. I'm looking if it makes sense. And look, I everything I do, I still find flaws in it. And no matter how much I do, there's always that thing when the book comes out and I start flipping through it and I go, "Oh, I could have done that. Would have been a better place to say that." I get when the movie directors say they want to go back and edit their films again. I get that. I don't love when they do it, but I totally understand that.
Yeah, because the day you feel that this is great and I'm doing great, that's the day you stop growing as an artist, right?
I haven't felt. I think there was one San Diego when Harley Quinn was like huge, right? There was one like San Diego. We went there. I remember it's at the DC booth. The man and I went on stage, and there was like 800 Harley Quinn girls dressed like Harley Quinn, girls and guys. And I looked at her and I said, "It's never gonna be like this again. This is crazy," But I also remember saying, and me, Joe, and Kevin Smith did a signing in New York. And it went around a whole city block with cop cars and everything. And I was like, well, it's never going to be like that again, And I realized that, I'm very present in the moment of when something's happening. Like when I'm at a signing at a convention, I'm not thinking about anything except the person in front of me and interacting with them. I'm not thinking about anything else. And I think it's very important to be present because and I also, like, when I see artists talk about how great their work is, or they say, this is the greatest thing, I always laugh at it because I'm like, I could never say that. I always say, I hope you like this one, I don't know where that confidence in them comes from to say that. I don't have that. I have the confidence to take it on and try to do it. but I don't have the confidence to brag about it. I'm just not a. I'd rather, if we were hanging out in the bar, we would be talking about the bar and the drink and the girl down at the end of the bar,
Okay.
talking about everything else. And then if you mentioned comics, I'd be like, oh yeah, we could talk about comics a little bit. But it's not the thing that runs my brain. I'm constantly trying to figure out how to get better at what I do. You know, I'm constantly trying to think. I keep rereading things, and I look at films a lot because that's the greatest shorthand for storytelling. And I analyze the films. YouTube has some great videos on like how to really look at it, what a director does and stuff like that. It's constant learning. You know, I'll be on my deathbed with some idea. You know, I'll be like, oh, I should have done that. You know, but I don't think satisfaction is part of our job, really. I don't think that's a. I don't think that's a realistic thing for anybody learning.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you enjoy it, and that's the best part of it.
Look at this. Look at this mess. Look at this mess. I love it. I love everything. I love everything about it. I have artwork, drawings. I have paintings. I got, oh my God, I got crazy books. I got the Conan art books.
Okay.
You know, I love it all. I love the collecting comics. I love the art on it. I buy original artwork all the time, although my tastes are expensive though, because I like guys like Milo Manara and Kirby, and you know, I like a lot of European artists, and you know, Jordy. Of course, Jordy was the big gift for me was working with Jordy Bernay for 11 books we did together. You know, but I love everything about it. You can see the white box, right? I got my comics in there. You know, we all have that wall of comic stuff. All of us.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Well, not lately. You've written humor, horror, noir cinema, well, detective stories, superheroes, science fiction, fantasy. What's your favorite genre, if you have one, or you just like everything?
You know, so when I was in my teens, Heavy Metal magazine came out, and very influential on me. The science fiction part, the Mobius stuff, the Bial, and all, like I grew up on all that stuff. I like adult comics. I like a little TNA in the books. I like a little sex and violence. I do like all genres. Like I grew up in a city, right? So for me, writing a Western like Jonah Hex is like imagining science fiction, like another planet. Because
Okay.
I grew up in a city. I didn't have horses. I didn't have mountains. Nothing. None of that. So you know, I love all the genres. I mean, at the end of the day, right? It's like when you write all of the genres, okay, you have to have this one element. You have to have that character that we follow. The two questions: what does the character want? What does the character fear?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and if you can answer these, I hear my wife running around back there. But if you can answer these, you kind of get to the root of the story. So in genres, the backgrounds change, and the stories change, and the settings, and the years that it's happening. But at its heart, if we don't care about the character, there is no story. It's just pictures and words. So I do love all genre because we get to move around the pieces, but the playing field always has the character that we follow and care about.
Okay, let me read. I'm checking the messages we get on YouTube, and you're going to like this one. Let me just
Okay.
read it, and I'll tell you who wrote it. There's a
Okay.
handful of comic book authors who've earned respect, admiration, and love from all their peers.
Peers.
Your guest is one of them. I've been lucky and honored to work with him. That's Humberto Ramos.
Berto, he's such a lovely man. I love Umberto since I first met him. Just the sweetest guy. We when we did our own creative comics, we of course one of the first people we ran to was Umberto to do Ash, and he's been a friend for many years. What a great storyteller, and the evolution of his artwork. His newest stuff is just amazing. He's like going in new places. He's another guy that sits there and spends a lot of time trying to think how he can do something better all the time. And but I adore him. He knows that. He knows that.
Yeah,
And it's very sweet that he says that. Umberto, thank you, buddy. I love you. You know that. We tell each other we love each other every time we see each other because we only see each other once a year maybe. And he's a guy I wish lived next door because I would hang out with him all the time. But what a talented guy. What a talented guy he is, huh? He's another one. You've had him on your.
yeah, we've known each other for like 30 plus years. I mean, we met each other before he was actually working for Marvel or DC, and yeah, he's been here on the show, and we're good friends.
Yeah, he's always been a sweet guy, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah, just a great guy. Amanda and I adore him and his wife. They're just lovely people, and we need like 1,000 more Umbertos in the business.
absolutely.
Yeah.
He says, and I quote, "It's my honor to call him my friend, and I love you, Jimmy."
I love him too, boy. I love you too, Umberto. If you're watching,
watching.
yeah, he's a buddy. I mean, he's a guy. Yeah, I just can't get enough of him when I see him. So I'm hoping one day he decides to move to Florida. I doubt he will. I don't think he ever will. But I'll move down to Mexico, I guess.
You might like it.
Are you kidding me? I probably love it.
Have you ever been
The
to Mexico?
weather's not so different. Yeah, I've been to different parts. The weather's not so different where I am in Florida. So and Mexico's beautiful. I mean, there's so many cities. There's so many different places in Mexico.
Would you like to come to as a guest to a convention here? We can.
We almost did once, but we hoping to get invited again. Amanda and I would love that. Yeah, we'd love to come down.
Okay, well, we also work very closely with some of the organizers of conventions here, so let's bounce that
ask
around.
them.
That would be great. That would be great. It's long overdue. Very overdue.
So, and then you can see Umberto.
I can see Umberto. There's a lot of people I see down there. A lot of people. When you go to San Diego, you meet everybody. They come from everywhere. Everybody, from everywhere. So it's San Diego's a good convention. Well, you know that, Carlos. Like It's a great convention because you meet people from Europe, from South America, from Canada. Like everybody comes and they all love the. It's a really fun time because everybody's there celebrating the comics that they love. It's a great show.
But I think that to meet your friends there is not enough time. Everybody's
No,
there.
there isn't. I mean, it's funny because Umberto, when he goes to San Diego, he sits at a table for the whole show.
Mhm.
Amanda and I never sit at the table. We do panels, and then we go hang out by the pool
Okay.
at the hotel, and then we tell people come by the pool and hang out with us when you need a break. Take
Okay.
a break from the convention. To sit, I only do San Diego when I'm invited as a guest. Otherwise, we go and we participate in things, but we don't sit at a table for the whole show. Amanda and I think it's too much work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be exhausting. I mean,
5 days.
yes,
whole days.
absolutely.
It's a lot.
It's like running a marathon. It's really tiring job, but it's so fulfilling.
No, and when you go to your table the whole time, and I'm like, I need a break. I need to go out and get some air. I need to eat something to eat. They want you to be there the whole day, all the time. I prefer a smaller show, 2 or 3 days. Great, 5 days is a lot.
No, that's
And,
that's
and then you have the day flying in before and the day flying in after. And then you have 4 more days of going home and laying in bed not feeling great because it's you picked up some kind of con crud or some kind of cold. It really is exhausting. New York's like that too. If you've been to that show, it's like it's so much work. I do love seeing the people though. So it's the thing that Amanda and I love about the cons. We love to sit there and see our friends. We love to see the fans, and that is the best part of the con.
and you have a signing this weekend, right? You and Amanda are going
I
to be.
do, and it's in
Emerald
a
City.
little store. It's in a little store in Clearwater, Florida. It's not a little store, actually. It's a gigantic store.
Okay.
The store is as big as a supermarket. But we have a signing. It's called Emerald City Comics, and I have an office in the back of the building.
Okay.
So I do my Kickstarters out of there, right? So
Cool.
it's like a big room, and it has a ton of comic boxes. It makes this look very neat. It makes this whole mess look very neat. It's cases and cases of. I used to have a lot more comics back there, but we got hit by the hurricane last year, and I had to throw out thousands and thousands. Of
No
comics.
way.
I saw your photos. That
Yeah, man. It was at one point. It was right by the side. It was 4 feet of water. You know, everything had to go in the garbage. We filled 3 giant bins, trash bins full of comics. It broke my heart.
yeah, believe me, I saw the photos and it broke mine.
But you know, we'll make more.
Exactly.
We'll make more.
If you can name one, I know this is a trick and actually dumb question, but of everything you've done, which would be your favorite work so far?
You know, it's always what I'm doing latest, but I did love doing Power Girl with Justin and Amanda. I did have a really good time doing that, writing that book with them, and having Amanda on the artwork.
That one?
That exact one. I actually talked DC into putting it back in print because it sold out a couple of years back, and they just brought it back in print. I did love that. I will say I'm gonna grab something right here. I'll show you what it
Okay.
Jonah Hex. I love writing this. This comes out in 2 weeks. It's 1,000 pages.
Okay.
It's an omnibus. But when I can pick up something I've written this big, I'm always like, oh, okay. I've been working hard, man. I didn't think I did this many comics. It's tough because I love writing Painkiller Jane. That's like a character I co-created with Joe. And it's really hard. It's like picking your favorite kid, you know.
Exactly.
I like them all for different reasons. I did love the Marvel Knights books, like Daredevil with Kevin, doing it with Kevin and Joe, and doing Punisher with Steve Dillon and Garth was the Welcome Back Frank book. It's funny because I have them all right here. I'm like always grabbing. I
Yeah, that was
love
great.
doing this.
Yeah.
Love that series. I love doing that. And then this just came out, the Harley Quinn. It's the $9.99, the mini. What do they call these? The compact comics. It's like 400 pages of books. So I love them all. I guess out of the ones I created, I think Painkiller Jane and the Monolith would be my favorites.
Monolith is cool.
And then for Marvel, I would say Punisher. And then DC, I would literally say Power Girl, Harley X. Like those are the ones I felt like the editors let me do what I wanted to do on it. I've done a lot of work for other characters and stuff, but a lot of times it's editorially driven. They're telling me what they want me to write, and it's never as good as when they tell me do whatever you want.
Okay.
Like Power Girl, they said do whatever you want, and Jonah Hex, they said just write it the way you see it. I thank Dan DiDio for that, because in the years he was there, he would literally give me a character and say, just, you know what to do, just do it, you know? And that's like the greatest thing a writer could hear, because it's like, oh my God, they have confidence in me.
Yes.
And that means I have to work harder because I want to impress him. I want to show him how good I could do. You know, he would inspire me to work harder on stuff.
Yeah.
And then this stuff I did, I hated. I didn't like Countdown. I did this Countdown series. I think I tried to quit it 3 times.
Okay.
I tried to quit it 3 times. I said, but your story's not worked out. I don't like this. The story's not worked out. You know, there was stuff that I did that, you kind of look at it. But I have to always remember at a convention, somebody always brings over a book I'm not happy about and says, this is my favorite comic. And I'm like,
Yes.
I'm so glad you love it, man. Here you go. You know, I'm like, yeah. So, they're all personal to me, but, I like to look ahead. I like to look what I got coming up next all the time.
Okay, and about looking ahead, this is something I want to pick your brain on. I mean, you've worked for Marvel, for DC, for Dark Horse, for Image, for everyone. You've worked on Kickstarter, you have paper films, you've been in event, I mean, you've been all over. What do you see as the future of comic books? What's best? Small press, Marvel or DC?
So Marvel and DC, X-Men have Batman. Batman's, DC has 18 Batman books. I mean, when they tell me the headline is Batman sold this many copies, I'm always like, yeah, like, of course, no matter who does it, it sells that many copies. It doesn't matter. But when you tell me like independent or an Image comic did that many comics, I'm like, I'm listening, man. I'm like, oh, really? What is that saga? What's that about? And Walking Dead. What is that, man? Oh my God, look at that. So I think the future is comics is going to be the same thing it's been for the past 20 years, is unique voices, people coming in and looking at the comics and saying, okay, I can tell this kind of story now. I think the Marvel and DC stuff, it is more of the same. I'm not convinced. I'm convinced a lot of the people that read the Marvel and DC are like those kids who watch their animated movie on DVD around 400 times.
Okay.
Where they love that movie and they keep watching it over and over and over. I think you can't really give me a great Batman and Joker story right now because I've read so many of them. So I think the future is going to be about creators doing their own thing and selling their own books. Eventually distribution is going to go wherever it's going to go. But I think I'm always looking to see what the next thing is. I mean, I was the first one Comic Pro to do Kickstarter because I was looking at something new, a way to get delivery system. I just think I think we're at the point where we're looking at manga and we're saying, okay, maybe there's something about this smaller format. Maybe there is something about people maybe want 300 pages for a story. But I think just when we think we know what's going on, something else happens. Hoping the multiple covers from Marvel and DC goes down to 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really feel that it's a cash grab away from the independents. Yes. When they put out 30 or 60 covers of one comic, I feel like it's hitting the independents hard because the people have no money for them.
Exactly.
And I always want more Hellboy, and I always want more. I want the next Walking Dead. I want the next Sin City. I want all those voices. And if you're gonna make people buy 57 copies of the same book, then they're not gonna have money to try anything new, and that's not a good thing. So I'm hoping the multiple covers. I want to give everybody advice. All those multiple covers, they're not really worth anything. After a while, you'll see 10 years ago, the multiple covers, they're still not worth much money. So I don't get why some people think they're worth so much and they're paying so much. Unless it's a real, there's only 200, then I'm listening. But if you're telling me, hey, it's 1 in 20, but they printed 150,000, I'd be like, okay, it's not special, But I'm hoping the future is just more distinctive voices, as always.
Okay. Yeah, you posted a cover by Darwin Cook, a Starfire cover.
Yeah.
That I mentioned in your post that this was one of the most beautiful covers I've seen. And somebody wrote that it was a very limited print run. So that's valuable. That I can understand.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Darwin did it because he was over here at the house and he did it and
Wow.
And I thought it was beautiful, and then he colored it and I was like, oh my God, it's even better. But it's always a shame when that should be on the cover of the trade book. You look at that and you go, my God, that's beautiful. We are so lucky and we're so spoiled in comics because we have some of the most amazing artists in the world, comic books. And I will say, and this is a brand new observation of mine,
Okay.
is that how we have the classics like the Van Goghs and the Manet and the Monet, and these are classic painters, and well, I see this generation, our generation, and the generations after are treating comic art like they're fine art. They're going out and buying these illustrations, and they're spending money on comic art, and they're treating it like people used to treat the Salvador Dali's, and the prices are insane now. We saw a
Yes.
Frazetta
Yes.
painting go for millions of dollars, and I think this is the next wave of collectible art is comic book art, and I think it's only going to get bigger as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I've also noticed that comic book art and commission and sketches are really.
The commission and sketches. I always say they're the affordable. I can afford a sketch. I can afford a commission. But I'm a lover of the panel page. I love the page with the panels and the lettering. And they're getting expensive because a lot of people are doing digital art now. So there's not a ton of original art anymore, other than the cover and other than the pinup and things. So it's interesting to watch. I think anybody that has any artwork that they bought 10 years ago is not upset that they spent the money 10 years ago.
Exactly.
No way.
You
10
know,
years ago, it was cheap.
Right. And I hope that in 10 years that we all feel the same way again, because maybe 10 years from now, that stuff will be crazy prices, and we'll be like, thank God I bought it in the 2,200 and whatever's. And but I see it becoming, in the past year or two, it was a smaller market, and as I travel through Europe and these places, I'm starting to see galleries everywhere with comic art that I never saw before, and I'm like, there's a revolution, and I think it's getting bigger all the time. I mean, I know we have Lake Como and OAX and all these shows, but I see it even getting bigger, because as this stuff becomes more normal in pop culture, we're going to start to see a lot of this stuff go up really high, I think. And that's nice for the artists. Because
Yes,
God
of
knows
course.
we don't get any retirement plan, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So,
About 10 years ago, I was trying to get back into comics because I stopped drawing for like 20 years. And I remember one day I was at Humberto's and I was telling him, I'm working on an iPad and it's digital and it's fast. Why don't you work like that? He said, because I cannot sell an original that I did digitally. I said, like, that's wise. That's completely
yeah,
right.
no. I mean, it's I'm sure you have an Umberto page, right? Or two. Yeah, I have some covers by Umberto, and I'm like, I'll probably never sell them, but they're definitely I got them a lot cheaper than I didn't always buy them from Umberto, because he would try to just give it to.
Uh-huh.
I would go and I'd buy something of his from an art dealer,
Okay.
because I want to make sure he got the money, But yeah, man, I it's a hobby. I almost can't afford it anymore. I'm almost there. So I actually slowed down buying stuff, but I still purchase every show I go to. I pick up a piece of art from someone or a commission.
You have some amazing stuff. I mean, you posted stuff that I was like, I'd give an arm and a leg for some of the stuff.
Oh, don't do that. Don't
No,
get me wrong.
no, I
Like,
won't.
A kidney, maybe?
Maybe.
who is so you guys, each one of you guys, who's your favorite artist? Some of your favorite artists.
Who, for me, most probably, I'd have to be between Bernie Wrightson and Arthur Adams. I just love Arthur.
How about you?
George Perez
George, yeah.
and
Yeah.
Frazetta.
Yeah, Frank Frazetta. Yeah, I mean, those are all great. And if there was a piece of artwork on the table, we grab them right away.
Absolutely.
Bernie was my first professional artist I met.
Wow.
I was in high school, and they had a little place upstairs in the little Manhattan side street office, and it was called the Comic Art Gallery, and it was 1978.
Okay.
And Bernie was up there, and he had his artwork on the wall, and he was trying to sell his pages. And I went up and I met him, and I got him to sign a book. I bought a book that they had, and then I asked him if he can write down what kind of pens and brushes he uses.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote them all down, and then he said, "You want me to show you how to use a brush?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he pulled out a pad, and he dipped it in ink, and he rolled the brush on the
Wow.
paper, and then he showed me how to do it. And I was like, this is before cell phones, obviously, because that would have been a great video, right?
Uh-huh.
But he sat there and he showed me
Wow.
fine work with the brush, and I was like, Oh, he's so good.
You were
Like,
drooling all the time.
Yeah, it's just like so amazing. And and it's funny because the other guy I met, one of my first guys was George Perez, and it was in Brooklyn, and it was in a little hotel down the street from where I lived, and they had a convention in the basement. And George was just doing Logan's Run. He was drawing
Okay.
Logan's Run. This is like, again, like, this is like,
1978.
yeah, like 78, 77. And he drew me a picture of Logan with a gun. I still have it.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Wow.
I still have it. It was a sketch, you know. He did it for, I think he did it for $1,
Uh-huh.
or maybe a cheeseburger or something. He probably bought it. I probably bought him like a hamburger or something.
Wow.
But he's a guy I miss. What a sweet man he was. You know, great guy. Him and Bernie. Bernie was the nicest guy. Nothing like his artwork. You know, his artwork was all like crazy and dark.
Yes.
And Bernie was like sweet, and he smoked a little too much, but he was a really good guy. You know.
Yeah, one of my oldest comics that I've got that really impressed me, that I said like, wow, I mean, I want to do this, was Swamp Thing #4, the Mexican edition, when Swamp Thing
Yeah.
meets Batman by Bernie. Wow,
Oh yeah.
I still think that's one of the best Batman I've ever seen.
He's I remember because the cape was gigantic,
Uh-huh.
and it just flowed, like all these pulls with just beautiful shading, and yeah, and he drew a great Swamp Thing. I mean, he drew the best Swamp Thing.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, but his Batman had the really long, he had the really long horns on it, you know, and I remember because I bought that book and I love that book, and I bought The Shadow by Mike Kaluta.
Mhm.
Came out. They came out at around the same time, and another book I liked was Killraven by Craig Russell.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And then there was Master of Kung Fu by Paul Galassi.
Mhm.
And then there was Captain Marvel and Warlock by,
Warlock.
right?
Mhm.
Like, these were great years in comics, because these guys were drawing things nobody ever saw before. Like, they came out of nowhere. Like, after the Kirby, after Buscema, these guys came out, exploded. And Barry Smith doing Conan, you know. I just remember it was such an exciting time in comic art. You know, it was just, yeah, man, good memories.
Yeah, I think that one of the most underrated series that nobody pays the respect they should is Master of Kung Fu. I mean, that series was way beyond its years. I mean, it was.
When Paul Galassi would ink himself,
Mhm.
was always the best.
Yeah.
The second best was Dan Atkins, who did a good job on. But I remember I used to buy it and I open it up to see if he inked himself, and I remember him and Don McGregor came out with one of the first creator-owned books, graphic novels, which was Saber.
Mm-hmm.
Remember Saber?
Yep.
I remember that artwork like blew me away, man. I was like, wow, you know, like Jim Strenko was around, but Jim Strenko hardly did any work. Like, he just did a book here and there. Paul Galassi was knocking it out monthly, and Paul Galassi's first job was a Morbius story in a Marvel comic, and he was 16 when he did it.
Wow.
Yeah, 16 years old.
Wow,
He's
I didn't know
retired
that.
now, Paul.
Uh-huh.
I just talked to him last week. Actually.
Wow. You inked some of his work, right?
I did. I inked a book called Time Bomb, and then I inked the Master Kung Fu series, 4 issues, and then I inked like a year or two a Catwoman over him.
Mhm.
We did and then yeah, we worked on a bunch of stuff together. Sci-Spy for which was like an adult science fiction thing. He was one of my heroes. He still is one of my heroes. So anytime he asked me, I said yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
And about working with artists, this is something that we've been talking about, and people have asked me when they knew you were going to be here. Amanda is one amazing artist. I told you that eventually someday I'd like to do this with her, because she blows me away. I mean, her work. She's one of my favorite artists working right now. But what is it like working with your wife?
She's a handful.
She's not there, right?
She's upstairs. She can hear me. She's up there. No, she's Amanda's work. Here's a comparison I always say. So Darwin Cook and Amanda were very tight friends.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at their art, there's a certain bounce and joy that
Yes.
they both have. Like their characters are having fun
Exactly.
on the page. Both Darwin and Amanda. Okay, maybe not the Parker book so much, but all the Marvel and DC stuff he's done, and Amanda stuff that, and they both grew up on Chuck Jones cartoons.
Okay.
Okay, so there's this like the characters look you in the eyes. I'm gonna point this out to you. When you read Amanda's books and you read, at some point the character looks right at you,
Uh-huh.
and it's a thing they both do, and they make a connection. That's why people connect with the art because the characters are looking right at them. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But she's great to work with. I mean, of course, I wish she was faster. She's very meticulous. And when she gets a cover gig, she won't do a cover where a character's just standing there too much. When she gets a cover gig, it has to have a story. So she always wants to read the script. But the companies are always saying, no, just do Captain Marvel flying and she's like, but what's the story? Constantly wants to tell a story in her covers. And it makes sense because she went to the Kubert School and she was one of Joe Kubert's, that was her teacher. So you can kind of see that she always wants to tell a story in the cover. But she's great to work with. I mean, I wish everyone I worked with as much foresight as she does. When she draws something, she looks at the whole surrounding of the character. So it's not just the character, it's the background. It's how they fit into the frame. It's how characters look at each other, in the books. And also it's people, how the characters interact with each other. You can always tell the mood of a character in Amanda's work. That's what I always say. She's very expressive, but she's great to work with. We're doing the Harley Quinn Elvira book right now, which is it's a crazy book, but it's a lot of fun.
It's fun, yes.
We're glad it sold so well because we like to point that out to DC once in a while. Like, look how good this did. You should have us do some more, But she's great. She's great. You have her on the show one day. She's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, but really, really love her work, and it's a big influence on me because both Darwin and her are also very light in the sense that they don't use that much shadows, like for example Joe and you do, and
Right.
I love that, and I can see the Chuck Jones connection immediately.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Joe has different styles, right? Like when I worked on him with Ash and a lot of work we did was more dynamic. With Joe's more realistic now, it's a little more contained. But I also inked him different than the guys that ink him afterwards, so it had a different look to it. But Joe's pretty amazing. I mean, he's still doing stuff. He's got a whole line of books coming out soon.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
his work's been missed.
Yeah, he's working. We talk all the time, and he's doing some beautiful stuff coming out. I mean, he's got the Black Panther book at Marvel right now, that the world to come. It's
That's what I always do.
I have the other book.
I know.
That's part of the. But he's doing a great job. Him and Priest are doing a great job on that book. Dan Panosian, he's another guy. Oh, his stuff is on fire. That wraparound cover is so much fun. They actually used the wrong cover because this girl there's a different girl. You'll see, the second printing has a different hair thing going.
Okay.
But he's another guy that I think is going to be getting bigger and bigger. Dan Panosian in the next year or two.
Yeah, that issue's amazing. I mean, I loved it. It's wild. It's violent.
It's crazy.
It's gritty.
It's gritty, and it's funny because we came. I asked Marvel. I said, Punisher's always killing people. Can we put an obituary in the back there? They let me do it. They let me do it, and I said. I also asked. I said I have a mission statement. This, and I was like, I didn't think they were going to print it. I said, look, I want Punisher to talk to the audience and say, here's what so he doesn't have to talk in the book so much. That was my thing. Like he's saying it there, and then he could be that guy in the book. that's a lot of fun to do. This book is a lot of fun, and it gets crazier.
Okay.
Okay, like 1 is fun, but it sets up everything. But 2 and 3 are crazy, and then 4 is off. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Wow.
Dan gets better every issue too.
Uh-huh.
His artwork gets better every issue, so it's kind of a fun progression to see.
Will we get what happened between the last time we saw Frank and what we see now? Some
No, this is literally Frank Castle. I'll say like 10 years from now.
Okay.
He's a little older. That's what the mission statement is. He's a little older.
Yeah, he looks older.
He's kind of sick of the BS in the world, and he just wants it. He just wants a white. And he's not as patient as he would normally be. It's funny because when you read the story, you see he kind of gets busted and turned into something else for a while. We were trying to. I just wrote the Punisher as classic Punisher. This is Frank Castle. He's in New York. He's trying to bust drug dealers. Honestly, I haven't read any of the last 10 years other than Garth Ennis's, and I felt like I didn't have to. Right? I'm writing a 4-issue series about Frank Castle as the Punisher. I don't need to worry about where they left him there, because it's a little bit out of continuity, especially it's the World to Come miniseries, so it's like a little out of continuity. It's funny because I have another book that is next month. It's Daredevil Punisher, and that comes out. That's 5 issues, but that takes place during So I wrote the story around Garth Ennis's and Steve Dillon's series that we worked on together. So that one takes place right before 9/11. So New York still has the World Trade Center. New York, everybody's still where it was, and it's sort of like an interactive story with Welcome Back Frank, which is if you read Welcome Back Frank and then you read the new series, you're gonna laugh at how crazy it is, because I took everything that Garth didn't mention and put it into this story.
Okay.
And it's pretty funny. Yeah. I haven't run it by Garth yet, but when I see him, he'll have plenty to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love how you make 150 days at some point in number 1 in the new issue. That he's
I'm sorry. What was that?
That he's a prisoner for 150 something days. That was wild.
Yes. It jumps. If they gave me 500 pages, it would have been easier. I could have done all the things. We want to move the story. We want to move the story up. It actually takes another jump at one point. Not that much, but a little bit of a jump. We only had 4 issues and 90 something pages to tell this giant story. So we did a lot of shortcuts to move the story along. But again, right, what we were talking about in the beginning, the storytelling, we do things in comics that you can't do in movies in a way, I always say my favorite thing about a comic is when I read it, I can go back and look at the art and spend some time looking at the art, and then I can read it again, and it's like, that's very exclusive to comics, where I could spend a really long time looking at something like that, and going, okay, what the hell's going on? So I love that about comics, and which makes them special from movies, because movies, we watch them all the way through. And movies also think we're idiots and keep showing flashbacks of things we saw 2 minutes before, which drives me insane,
And speaking of Punisher, who's your favorite live action Punisher? Thomas Jane, Ray Stevenson, John Bernthal?
I like Tom Jane because he's a buddy, but also he's really good. But they put him in Tampa, and it should have been in New York. So the movie, he was better than the movie was. Like I thought he was better than the movie was. I like the guy that plays him now on the TV show. John
Bernthal.
Yeah. He's he looks like the Punisher, like he looks really. Um, they kind of all fun. Actually, they were all kind of fun. It's just that the levels of the movies were all over the place. Punisher was just funny, like for me. Like shooting all those guys in the elevator and all that stuff. It's just crazy over the top. Tom Jane was doing the Welcome Back Frank story in a way, like, but they changed stuff which they shouldn't have changed. They should have paid attention to what Garth did and made that movie. And the TV show, I like them all. They're all pretty good. But Tom's my favorite because he's a buddy. So I mean, every San Diego I go out and have a drink with Tom. So it's kind of fun. Yeah.
For me, the best. I mean, I love all of the different versions, but the best one is Dirty Laundry, the short that Thomas Jane did.
Well, when he made that, he showed it in San Diego, and he said, "You have to come tonight." And we watched it on a big screen.
Wow.
And I said, just go to Avi Arad and tell him you want to make this. Just give him this. This is the Punisher. And they never did anything. They never made it. They should have let those guys do it. I think there's a revival with the Punisher, so we'll see what happens. If you live long enough, you'll see another version of something. Just hang in there.
Yeah, Thomas Jane would be the perfect Punisher for the one you're writing right now.
Oh, I would love that. I'm probably gonna mail this to him just to tell him he should do it. He'll read it and give me his comments. He's an interesting guy. He's a very busy man though.
Okay.
He's in a million things, man. He's busy.
Okay. Wow, this is. I didn't know you knew Thomas Jane. I mean, for example, going completely off topic. The Mist with him. That's one of my.
Oh, he did the voice of the Punisher in the video game Garth and I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we met first. That's when we first met Tom. So he did the voice. But the Mist is he's great in the Mist. I mean, that's a movie at the end. You're like, no.
Yeah, at the end it just stays with you. That's so shocking.
It's a very bold movie. I love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what movies do you like? Tell me. I mean, it's impossible to have one favorite movie, but
I do. When it's on, I will watch Interstellar over and over.
Okay.
Okay.
It just every time I watch it, I see something new in this. I like the idea of how much hope is in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like how much dad and daughter, how much he gets the mother. You guys seen it, right? So I'm not going to ruin anything. Yeah, there's so many different levels of people trying to save each other and the planet, and everything in that movie is, except for Matt Damon, who's an asshole in it. But even him, his whole story is kind of messed up. But there's so much. It's such a hopeful movie, and I kind of callbacks to seeing his own mother, and then him leaving at the end to go save her on the planet, to go join her on the planet. Like there's so much more of that world I would like to see.
Mm-hmm.
That's a recent one. When I grew up, my favorite movie was Where Eagles Dare.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yes, Richard Burton. I saw that every summer because when I went away to camp in summer, they had a big reel of it, and they would show it every year. So I saw it every year. That was my Star Wars. But yeah, I love indie. I love film. I mean, I'll go see everything. I love the medium. I love the storytelling aspect of it. I'm trying to think. I like weird stuff, and I like of course Scorsese. I like Gangs of New York is one of my favorites of his.
Okay.
Because it has like New York history in it. We don't get to see much New York history in movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that movie, and I don't know.
You really like New York City.
I do love I grew up there. I live in Florida now, but I grew up 45 years. I lived there, and New York City. It's a great city. It's crazy and it's fun and it's wild and it's very much a very alive city. Like that's a city you go to, and it feels so alive at all times. There's something it has its own beat. That's why Daredevil stays there. That's why Punisher's always killing everybody there.
Okay.
You know, but it's where I grew up. It's where my dad had a store, and New York's very key. Now I'm like a good New Yorker. I live in Florida now, which they call the sixth borough of New York is Florida. Um, and I live here because I want a house. In New York, I couldn't.
It's impossible.
No, I I had an apartment that was cheaper than my house.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, my this.
Yeah.
The house is cheaper than the apartment.
Yeah, man, it's like, the apartments now. Everything's so expensive there. That's the only. Everything's expensive everywhere, though, except for this comic. It's only $5.
Do you go back to New York every now and then?
I do. I have friends there, and Amanda and I will go back and spend a couple of days. We do New York Con like every other year. We didn't do it this year because we honestly we had too much work. We couldn't afford to do any conventions, but no, we go there. We see friends, and we go to the same pizzerias and bagel stores and restaurants, and I have friends that live there that they're never going to move. So I have to go there to see them.
Okay.
If we were in New York City, where would you recommend me to go and get a pizza, for example?
I would tell you to go down to John's in the West Village.
Okay.
It's like around 4th Street, like Third Street.
Mhm.
John's has been there since the 20s, I think.
John's. Okay.
Really solid, really good pie. Costs a couple of dollars more than those cheap dollar slices, but those are garbage. John, I would tell you to go to John's. Yeah, I would tell you I would say get a pie from John's and take it to the park and sit in the park and eat the pie.
Okay.
I used to go to Carnegie Deli. I loved being there, but it's over now.
Yeah,
It's
I
closed.
mean, there's still, Katz is still there.
Mhm.
Katz's Deli is still there. I mean, but you're talking about sandwiches that it is, you
They're
have to take
bigger.
them home, like it's ridiculous. Yeah, you also pay. Those sandwiches are like $26. They're like crazy
Wow.
Yes.
prices. The food is great. New York is a great eating city. I mean, you go down to Chinatown and get Chinese Italy. You go to on 32nd Street, you got Little Korea. They got Korean barbecue that's amazing there. But I think where all the world is everywhere, everybody lives now. I think it's everywhere now.
Okay, we'll make sure that you come here. We'll get you to be a guest at the convention, and we'll take you to eat the best tacos in the world because New York
Man.
has pizza, Mexico City has tacos.
Tacos.
Oh, I would imagine that would be the first thing I'd go for is anything they make there.
Okay.
The best. Yeah. You don't go to Connecticut for pizza, and you don't go to Mexico for a hot dog.
Exactly.
It's not the way. Although they're probably pretty good in Mexico. What am I
Okay.
saying?
But you have to taste tacos here.
Yes, absolutely.
And not to abuse the time and to start wrapping things up, what do you like to do when you're not doing comics, when you're not writing, when you're not drawing?
Yeah, so Amanda and I like to travel a lot. We travel all over the world. We last year we did 42 days. We backpacked through Europe.
Wow.
So for 42 days, we finished our work, and we said we're not doing anything for the next month or two, and we took a plane to Germany, and then we had backpacks and a train pass, and we went down. We visited J.G. Jones in France, and we saw all these different artists all through Italy, and then we went through Switzerland, and we went to Christmas festival, and we got caught in storms, and we got snowfall. We got snow. We went up to Italy. We went up and had hot baths in the snow, and crazy. It was just 42 days where we had really only one or two actual reservations, but every time we took the train, we'd say, "Oh, look, there's that town. Let's get off the train," and we'd find a
Wow.
hotel, and we'd see what the town had, Bolzano, and all these crazy places. That is the most fun Amanda and I can have because we're like constantly seeing new things, and every day is interesting. And we would go. We went to one hotel, and little hotel, and the people that owned it said, "Oh, you're here. Well, here, have a drink with us." And we wound up hanging out with them. And like if you travel the world and you smile and you speak a little bit of the language, people are very, very nice to you.
Yeah, I agree.
And they love that you're enjoying what they're serving so much, right? They really love they want to show off everything. And we visited castles and zoos and oh my God. So we love traveling, love going to the movies. We're in a very pretty area in Florida, so there's beaches here. Clearwater Beach is voted the #1 beach in the United States. It's a beautiful beach. And then we have Tampa and St. Pete, which is like cities. So we have museums, a lot of museums around here. But we keep active. We tend to go out to eat at least one meal a day because we need to leave the house because we're working at home.
Exactly.
We need to go out, but we have scooters too. We have scooters. We'll go out and have dinner. We'll take the scooters down the street, and we keep busy. I collect comics still, so I still go to comic stores and I bag my comics and board them, and yeah, man, I still buy a lot of comics. I have my pull list is every #1 comic
Okay.
from not from DC and Marvel, just every #1 from every other company.
Okay, good.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah, because I'm always looking at the new stuff. I have like piles.
We all do have a pile.
Yeah, like piles of things I'm trying, and I'm like, oh, what's this? And I was funny because I saw this one, Crimson Pain, and I was like, it's not Crimson Plague. No, that one. But yeah, I'm always trying stuff. And then whatever I don't like, I put in a box and I ship it to my brother.
Okay.
So yes, he makes every couple of months.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, that's what I do. But we spend a lot of time together. Amanda's parents live down the road. They're in their 80s. So we visit them. We take them out to eat, But I do a lot of movies. We love going to the movies.
Cool. And just to wrap up, when we got successful professionals like you, we always like to live with like advice for young artists, but we want to do a different kind of question. So if you met somebody, a young artist, a aspiring artist, and they wanted to quit, what would you say to them?
Well, I'd probably ask them why. I'd want to know why they want to quit, right? And we know what it's going to be. It's going to say, well, because I keep drawing and nobody's looking at it, and right. So I always ask them, are you on social media? Do you have a website with your artwork? Do you show your artwork all day? Do you take a TikTok video, draw it? I said, comics used to be you just draw and that was good enough. But the world's different now for young creators. They need to get out there and sell their work a little more because there's a lot of competition. And I would tell them, I would honestly, I'd ask them, let me look at their work and give them an opinion, what they need to work on. Because and I always can tell if it's a person that's serious, they listen to the advice. If they're not, they try to argue with me. And, because I always say, if somebody says, well, I love doing it, but I can't draw hands and feet. I always tell them, well, November is hands month. And for the month of November, you're going to draw nothing but hands every day. And then December is foot month. Okay. And you're going to draw feet and boots every and day. Shoes every day in December. You're going to show me a book this thick full of drawings of feet and only feet. Okay. Every different angle. Watch a Quentin Tarantino movie. Get those feet at every angle. It really is that, right? The learning of the art is really just, what do you suck at? Because they all know that they're terrible at certain things. But I always tell them, I'm like, if you're gonna quit, why don't you try at least drawing only the thing you're terrible at for a while? Because we all know artists that haven't gotten into the business, but they can draw that one good head, or they can draw that one good pose. But then if you tell them to draw two people wrestling, they're like, oh, I don't know that. Like, how would the body go in? Like, And I always say comic books are not for weaklings. They're really for tough guys. Drawing comics, you have to be the tough guy of artists
Oh, yeah.
because you have to draw everything. You have to draw cars and boats and people and babies and grandmothers and tables with 30 people having dinner on them. And, you have to draw buildings at night, the day. You have to draw things perspective and worm's eye perspective. And I said, so I would tell them just that if you really want to do it, you're going to have to start focusing on what you're terrible at. Same thing with writing. If you're saying, I love to tell a story, but I don't know how to end it, or I don't know how to, they tell me the same things. I don't know. I have a story I want to do, but it's like 7,000 pages. And I'm always like, can you tell it in 20 pages? Can you grab a piece of it? So my always advice is I like to try to focus on what they can't do and try to talk it out and push through it.
Okay, great. That's great.
Yeah.
Can I send you my pages? I have a 5-page story.
Send it in my email, and I'll give you some advice on it. I'm not cruel. I'm direct. I'm direct, though. I'll tell you, that's great. You need to work on that.
Perfect.
Look, and you can everyone can learn to draw a hand.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, stop looking at it like a hand. Look at it as a circle with 5 sticks sticking out.
Uh-huh.
It's much easier when you see this as a circle with 5 sticks. But because we know it's a hand, we're worrying about the angles and the fingernails and the knuckles. And I'm like, man, you're not going to learn. You just take it to its simple basics.
Mm-hmm.
Foot is a triangle. Foot is a triangle. Every which way you draw the foot, it's a triangle, no matter what. Take things down to basic shapes. That's how you learn them.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Not for me.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
No, thank
It's
you.
been a lot of fun. And it's midnight, but it's after midnight for me here. So
Yeah, I know. That's why I want to go to.
I'm gonna go to sleep after I get a nice glass of milk and some cookies, and I'm gonna go crash.
Okay, thank you very much,
All right.
and it was amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Great talking to you, and hopefully I see you soon.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll talk about it.
And
Thank you.
we'll hook up Amanda. We'll get Amanda hooked up.
Oh yes, please. I love her work. Okay,
Thank
take
you,
care.
Jimmy.
All right.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Ok, señores, pues creo que fue un
Una buena plática.
maravilloso programa. Qué tipazo es Jimmy, qué bruto.
Sí.
Ya me había dicho Humberto que era de lo más agradable. El pingüino también. me
También
había dicho.
era bien alivianado.
Sí. Sí, y pues yo había interactuado con él, lo que escribe en Twitter, ¿no? Que se ve que es muy chistoso, pero qué bruto, qué cuate más.
Yo había leído
carismático.
algunas historias de que era muy buena gente, que cotorreaba con todo mundo, pero digo, no es lo mismo leerlo a verlo.
Claro. Y ahora sí, ya habiendo visto esto, platiquemos con los conocidos que tenemos aquí para que venga a México.
Sí, habría que moverle porque
Él y Amanda que vengan acá.
además sí quiere venir, o sea,
Sí, exacto. Vamos de gane. Y además yo tengo una cita la semana que viene con gente que a eso
que lo podría.
Sí. Bueno, señores, pues muchísimas gracias. Esto fue Comics S.A. La semana que viene tenemos...
Algo que no recordamos en este momento.
Es el de terror, creo, y luego tenemos dos
No, el de
invitados
terror
más.
es en 2 semanas.
Ok, tenemos ya 2 invitados. Salvador Kiautlazolin y alguien...
Salvador creo que es el 28 y el de terror es el 28 y el de terror creo que es el 4.
Ajá. No sé, vamos a ver.
Así creo que sí van.
Y hay otro invitado todavía por ahí, pero en fin. Pero bueno, aquí estaremos. Muchísimas gracias por habernos acompañado.
Gracias.
Espero que les haya gustado.
No pudimos meternos mucho ahora con el chat porque sí teníamos que tener toda la atención con Jimmy.
Y casi no hubo chat.
Y creo que estaban más entretenidos también porque no estuvieron haciendo muchas preguntas.
Sí.
Lo poquito que alcanzamos a ver se le dijo, pero
Sí, porque
bien.
además hoy, a los que viven en la Ciudad de México, hoy el tráfico fue un verdadero caos.
Desde ayer,
Llegamos aquí mucho más tarde de lo planeado.
de lo usual.
De hecho,
Sí.
Jimmy me estaba mandando mensajes desde las 8 y correos de, güey, el link, ¿dónde está el link? Porque hasta las 8:50 le pude mandar por el tráfico. Arturo no pudo llegar por el tráfico.
Sí.
Por eso no tenemos saludos, porque el Padawan y Arturo...
Se quedaron atorados allá en Santa Fe.
entonces, pues muchas gracias a todos, pero no hubo chance de ver. A ver, bájalo de volada, nada más rapidísimo.
Había uno que sí pidió saludos.
Pues mira, está Gustavo Rubio, Javo Verduzco, Ponchos...
Regrésate y de ahí nos vamos para abajo, más fácil.
Ya desde Surtido Rico Pop, Poncho Scotch, Javo Verduzco, Gustavo Rubio,
José Joaquín Sánchez Salas,
Israel Cerrato, Alquimia de la Luna, saludote, besos. Bueno,
G-Ray, Humberto Ramos,
One Piece Payasama.
Mayasama, Coba Studios, Víctor B. Flores,
Alfredo Rueda.
Alfredo
Rafael
Rueda.
Rueda.
Sí, que Alfredo hizo una pregunta, pero básicamente se contestó durante la plática.
Ajá.
G-Ray.
Ya.
Ya.
Ok. Bueno, pues muchísimas gracias. Muy buenas noches y nos vemos la semana que viene.